We're Arts and Adventure Summits, the airwaves. This is the Ogden Arts and Adventure Show. My name's R. Brandon Long.
And this is Todd Oberndorfer.
The greatest co-host in all the land for the greatest podcast in all the land. Our guests this week, we have Erin Adams, Wildlife Rehabilitation Center of Northern Utah. I hear there's some drama going down, so we'll dive into that a little bit. And then we also have Amir Jackson, founder, director, Nurture the Creative Mind, and creative at Now, this is a good story, at Indie Ogden. So took that over not very long ago, and we'll dive into sort of what he's doing there and talk to Amir about being an artist and the art of being seen, which is cool. Let's start off, Erin, with you, because right now it's like 5:15 recording time. In about 45 minutes, there's going to be a little meeting down at the city concerning your state of affairs as far as, and I've got the paperwork here. Got the paperwork. So WRCNU, which is the Wildlife Rehabilitation Center, Northern Utah, and your official role is what?
I am a wildlife rehabilitator.
Wildlife rehabilitator. Mm-hmm. Okay. So this is the letter from.
It's official. It looks
official. It's got a
letterhead and everything.
Letterhead and everything. Yeah. And it's long. I won't read the whole thing, but we met with Ogden City Administrative Leadership Team, including Chief Administrative Officer Mark Johnson, City Attorney Gary Williams, and Director of Public Services Jay Ladder on Wednesday, April 12th, so about a month ago now. In this meeting, city officials offered WRCNU a possible extension of up to 6 months beyond our current deadline because you're getting booted from the facility. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay. And we'll dive into that here. But Amir, did you print these T-shirts?
Yeah, organization printed the T-shirts.
Okay.
And they are amazing.
Yeah. Like, did you print them or somebody else?
No, I did.
You did.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Okay, so in the meeting, 6 months beyond our current deadline to vacate our facility, contingent upon WRCNU finding a new building and beginning construction. So you got to find a new building and begin construction, which would be very difficult for WRCNU to do if we are basically impossible, able to get this extension. So it'll allow you to continue and ensure that the animals currently in the care can be released or placed in an education facility and prevent unnecessary euthanization of animals. However, it will not allow us to transition seamlessly and continue to accept patients, which means, have you guys shut down at this point?
We have, yeah. So unfortunately, we're just not able to take on any more new patients because of our tight timeline. Right now it is baby season, so most of the patients that we're taking in need months of care. And because September 6th is so far our deadline, we don't have months. We have like 2 months.
Okay, so you're Northern Utah. So where's the closest rehabilitation center in Utah?
So the next closest one is down in Price.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
That's not even close.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
And then there's another one that is located in Mapleton, but she specializes. She only does birds of prey, so she wouldn't be able to take in like a robin or a duck or something like that. And then that's it for Northern and Central Utah. Best Friends Animal Sanctuary has a small wildlife rehab program. They're based in Kanab. That's it.
Okay, so you've been with them for how many years now? A lot.
Like
10 plus? Or
like 20 plus.
Oh yeah, that's a lot.
Wow.
Okay, yeah, that's a lot.
So
20 plus years. Okay, so and the purpose here is to rehabilitate injured animals, right?
Yeah, native wildlife specifically.
Okay.
There's a lot of places that do domestic animals, things like ducks and chickens, but we really focus on the wildlife, things like sparrows, robins, ducks and geese, but also birds of prey, bald eagles, red-tailed hawks. Waterfowl like pelicans, herons, all sorts of ducks, wading birds. We do it all.
Which is awesome.
Now, do you get the call from somebody who finds, say, an injured animal? Is that how that works? Or
Typically, yeah. So, most of the animals, I would say probably like 95 to 98% of the animals that we get in are brought in by the people that find them. They pass them on the side of the highway, or they see them hit the window or something along those lines, and then they pick them up and they bring them in. I wish we had the resources to go out and do retrievals for animals, because it would definitely be a big help to people that find them, but We're just not able to offer that. So most of our patients are brought in by the general public.
But you are an organization that's been around for, what was the inception? How long has the group been around?
A while. I don't know if I have.
Meaning a long-term part of the community.
So we were founded as our own organization in 2009.
Okay.
But before that, we actually operated out of Ogden Nature Center. And Dylan ran that rehabilitation and their education program for a long time. And then when 2008 hit and the recession hit, they actually basically just defunded the rehabilitation program. And so we didn't, we couldn't just let it go away. It was necessary in our opinion. So we took it and made it our own organization. And then in 2000, I believe it was 2010 or 2011, we moved into the building that we are now, which used to be the old Ogden Animal Shelter building, and we've been there ever since.
Okay.
And you've done some upgrades there, and we'll talk about that. How many animals could you guesstimate that you treat in an annual period?
Thousands.
Thousands.
Literally thousands. I think last year we took in almost 4,000, like 3,600 easily. And the number keeps going up every year.
So without what you do, what happens?
I mean, there's not really other options. Legalities aside, the knowledge that it takes to do wildlife rehabilitation, it's just such a vast field that people just don't understand what it takes. So unfortunately, most of the animals don't survive.
Okay. So you save thousands of animals a year, essentially.
Basically, yeah.
Okay.
That's kind of the goal of our program.
Okay, so the drama here is that you, and I didn't know you were at the Nature Center to start. That's interesting. And then so you were gifted space, or how did you get the space that was the old animal shelter that's now next to the dinosaur park in Ogden?
So the biggest part of us getting that was the building was originally designed for animal use. The Browning Family Foundation put in a lot of funding and a lot of thought and effort to make a building that they wanted to be used for animal welfare and for education. So when the Ogden City Animal Shelter combined with the Weber County Animal Services, a building that was made for animal use was left empty. And we got so incredibly lucky that we just happened to coincide in the timing. We did spend a year in the old Brookside Animal Hospital building while we kind of waited for everything to be settled with the animal shelter building. And then we moved in. And it was kind of they still wanted it to be used for animals and for welfare and education.
Okay, so I guess I missed originally. I didn't factor in the fact that this was a donated building from the Browning Foundation.
They had a big part in it. From my understanding, there was also public fundraising as well to make the building in the first place.
Okay, so who owns it then? The city own it, or who owns it?
I'm actually not 100% certain who owns it. I don't know, but I believe that the Browning Foundation kind of backed away from its use a little bit when Carol Conroy Browning passed away. But we've had, conversations with them, and they're definitely not happy about the direction this is going.
Well, do you know, because you're not the director.
Correct.
You just work there.
Yeah.
Do you know like who the lease is signed with or anything?
So it's technically a city agreement.
Okay.
So I guess that would mean the city owns the building.
Okay.
But it was kind of a weird, like, we don't pay rent. There's not an official lease agreement like that. We did sign paperwork, and they were very generous in donating the rent to us. So basically they said, we'll donate you the use of the building for your needs, but you have to pay all the utilities and the upkeep of the building and stuff like that.
Okay, and you've put in over the years, I've read, specific upgrades for what you guys need, correct?
Yeah, because even though the building was designed for animal care, it wasn't designed for wild animal care. It was an animal shelter,
Dogs,
so
cats,
cats and dogs mostly.
gerbils.
I don't know if they take in gerbils. They're kind of small. I don't
Small
know
little
if
house
they have
animals.
cages.
I've adopted a dog or two from the old
Yeah.
animal shelter.
Yeah, they were really good.
Are gerbils wild originally?
No, my point is that they weren't wild. It's mostly dogs and cats.
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. So
Todd was was offering some comedy relief to the heavy subject.
Just trying to keep it going.
Why do you think we pay this guy? Come on now. He gets the big bucks. Okay, so then the story goes, and if I'm just a general member of the public, well, essentially I am here. So you guys are getting booted from this particular place where you've been in business now for quite some time, and you've had this lease where you haven't had to pay, right?
Right. And they've been very good to us up until now. And that's part of why this has come as such a surprise, because we were completely blindsided by all of this.
So then you have until September something, according to the 6th, to vacate, right?
Completely,
You got to get all your stuff and go home.
Everything packed, building empty, keys handed over, the works.
Okay, and then what happens? What are they going to do with the building?
According to the
They
plans,
meaning the city, right?
So they're going. I don't know if it's a gift or a purchase agreement or what's going on there, but it will be dinosaur parks.
Okay.
And then they're going to.
Well, obviously they're going to raise dinosaurs there from.
Yeah, the plans that they have drawn up. There's a little area labeled a hatchery. There's a big
told
parking
you
lot.
a hatchery.
Yeah, and
I'm
there's.
telling
Yeah,
you.
the plot definitely thickened for a show.
I'm not 100% certain what the hatchery will be used for exactly. In the official.
Saw Jurassic Park.
We've seen.
It starts innocent enough.
It does.
It really did. Good intentions.
Good intentions.
It always starts with good intention.
Absolutely.
does.
Yeah. Oh, so they're expanding.
Yes, but when we got the news and at the city council meeting, their specific words were 144 parking stalls and a maintenance shed.
Oh, okay. Well, that's different than baby dinosaurs.
Right. So now that they've released these plans, it's a hatchery, which could be like building the dinosaur models. I'm really not sure.
And then did they suggest another place where you guys can move into? They're like, hey, we're going to do this dinosaur thing, but we got another place down here y'all can borrow.
They have not
Okay.
actually done any of that. They've kind of left us to our own devices.
Okay, so the argument I'm hearing from the city side was that you guys knew all along that this was not going to be your property forever.
That is what they're saying. And technically, the lease agreement that we signed, it didn't have an end date. We were not actually told an end date. There was some question about when we first moved in. They were like, well, you're not going to be here forever, that kind of thing. And we approached Ogden City and Dinosaur Park and said, what is the actual deal? There was some question about whether or not we were going to be paying rent. It was kind of up in the air for a while. And so we just approached them flat out and said, are we going to be here long term? Are we not? What is the deal? We never actually got a reply as far as I know, whether yay or nay or maybe or we'll see. It was just kind of left up in the air. So we assumed, and then had been told that after a couple of years, all of this fine print in the lease that we did sign would kind of go away. We'd just be grandfathered in. We'd just be in the building.
Okay, so I guess your argument would be we're saving animals' lives here, and we don't have to worry about that stuff right now.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, and also, I mean, it was verbal. We were only told that verbally.
Okay.
Which is
So
technically the
did you
lease.
have a written lease?
We did.
Okay.
Yeah, and we did sign it.
Okay.
But we were verbally assured that it was not that big a deal. All of that fine print is just something that Ogden City puts into all of their contracts. Like after a couple of years, everyone will just forget about it,
Well,
and you'll be there.
Amir's smart. But here's what I was
that was our
thinking.
mistake.
I
Trust me.
know, but
Yeah.
still, even as a homeowner, like our cousin up on 89, right, owns this house, has a beautiful front yard with trees and everything. Well, then like they decide we're going to expand 89, and all of a sudden like you're staring at a brick wall and half your yard goes away. Like these things can just happen unless you. And she owns her property, but unless you own it, then own it, then you're subjected to anything can happen, right? Like
Right.
Yeah.
Even when you own it, you might just be borrowing it.
You might just
Yeah.
So it's better than not owning it. But
Well, here's my big question about all this is being a resident of Ogden, I do know, and I would argue the fact that many people in Ogden love their animals more than their neighbors, right?
Yeah.
I've said this before, like people's relationship with their animals is very strong here. It's very strong here. And this is a story that we would collectively get behind and do something about. This just seems like something that would just naturally A, happen, and B, like we would feel very strongly about, and probably could be very proactive about finding a new space if that was the answer, or any number of things. And it seems a little bit more strategic on somebody's side that some of this information was kept quiet up till kind of like the last minute.
What we don't know is what's going on at the city. Like, I don't know. They're not here.
Development?
They're not here to, sure, I get, but why, the dinosaur park though? Is it really bringing in all that cash?
Dino Park does well.
Does some of the money from the dinosaur park go to the city? Like, who owns the dinosaur park?
It's a separate thing, but it brings a lot of people to Ogden.
I don't know these answers.
Parking lots.
Parking lots are,
Yeah.
you know what? We need parking lots everywhere except for the dinosaur park right now. But there could be a hero, apparently. The mayor, the outgoing mayor, is mentioned in this letter quite often, saying that he could change it. Like, he's like the sole voice that could actually, like, why is he so important and laid out in this letter as saying that if Caldwell says, no, but I don't want to do that, then everything stops? Do you know?
Well, I mean, mostly because he's the one saying it's going forward. City council doesn't want this to happen. Residents don't want this to happen. We don't want this to happen. But he's saying we have to be out.
Okay, but you don't know why exactly?
Not exactly. There's a million different theories. Apparently we're not the only nonprofit that he's kind of screwing over on his way out. So I don't know what that all ties into, but...
Okay. Todd?
Decisions catch up.
Yeah.
This is where we're at, though, and I'm so happy to hear, honestly, just to hear more about this story. I know surface information, so it's nice to go a little bit deeper. What can we do? What can our listeners do?
Yeah, there's a list here.
You know, at this point,
Yeah.
what's
There
it
is.
have
We
listed?
do have a little list.
Yeah, you want me to read off the things?
Yes, because I can't remember all the
Okay,
Yeah, let's get to the good
What can you do? Okay. It says, we thank our supporters for everything you have done to help us. Please continue to contact the mayor's office at Mike Caldwell at ogdencity.com and Mark Johnson at ogdencity.com. And please share the story with your friends so everyone knows. I mean, I'll just offer Mike some more beer. Maybe that'll work. I don't know what he's looking for, but donations to aid and expedite the move. Because if you do find a place, you got to move fast, right?
Fast.
Through Facebook, Wildlife Rehabilitation Center of Northern Utah. So go ahead and like that Facebook page, follow that Facebook page, stay in the know of what's going on there. They do have a Venmo, WRCNU1, and a website, WRCNU.org. Reach out to the mayor's office, follow on Facebook, like I just mentioned, sign the petition. Oh, there's a petition started.
Yes.
So that's on the website at WRCNU.org. And then share the story. So we're helping by sharing the story. Donations is what they need. So money always helps. Experts on social media. Who's your social media contact, or is that you?
So right now it's actually Buzz for Facebook, and he is very overworked. So he may not respond right away. But yeah, right now Buzz Marthaler is doing our Facebook outreach.
I've seen some videos coming out. Those were great. Yeah, those really helped kind of tell the story.
Right. Yeah, and right now, I mean, we do still have patients in our care that we're also having to work on.
Yes.
We're still facing avian influenza, which never went away from last year. So this is spring and summer number 2 that we'll be dealing with quarantine measures from that. It's not a huge risk to people, but it's just so deadly to birds. It has a 95% mortality rate. So if we get an infected patient in, or someone walks in the wrong path and then comes into the building, it could literally kill all of our patients. So we have to be so careful.
And then
So moving isn't...
It's going to be hard because we will still have to keep that quarantine.
Right.
Even if we don't have any active cases that are in our quarantine rooms, there are still certain levels of cleanliness that we have to keep everyone else safe.
did the avian flu knock out the dinosaurs?
Was an
Could be.
asteroid, I think.
I mean, it was an asteroid.
There's a million
Yeah,
theories.
it's an asteroid. Yeah.
At least that's what they told us. The
Well,
victim.
now they're saying,
Yeah.
well, it's probably a combination. Maybe volcanic activity happened at the
I
same
would
time.
believe that.
and-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could be just fires.
no
on the
reason
West
for
Coast.
only one disaster to
The
happen at
West
a time.
Coast
after all.
fires. I don't know.
These Canadian fires are just
Yeah, they're killing us
Yeah.
now.
awful right now. Okay, so I support nonprofits strongly, particularly ones that are fulfilling needs that are not being met by another group, right? And so it's not like there is another rehabilitation group that
Right.
also does what you do. And the fact that the closest one is so far away, this seems like something, I don't want to say no-brainer, but this really does seem like something that we should fight stronger for. And if it's not in the current location, which would be ideal, then what's the option? A new place.
Right. So, I mean, ideally, they would be able to give us some more time, like 5 years would be nice. That would allow us to stay open, continue to accept patients while our plan is to do capital campaign funding to raise enough money to buy property and build a building. Because even if we do find somewhere quickly, to get a building comparable to what we're in, we will have to build it from scratch ourselves.
Sure.
There's not.
That's a lot of work. Yeah, I was going to say. So, what if there's someone listening who's generous and they have they have an old building? What would you need to do to sort of make that into what you need to pass for now?
Right. So there's minimum standards that are laid out by the federal government as far as how big the cages need to be, what kind of substrate has to be in the bottom, the number of perches that the birds have to be able to use, what the walls and roof can be made out of. They're very strict. So to build something like that, we can. I mean, we have, our dream plans for an amazing building, but it's just going to take so long to get there. And right now, because it's going to take too long and we just don't have that kind of time, right now we're looking for a temporary facility to just move into as quickly as possible and reopen for at least some kinds of animals as soon as possible. And then we can start the capital campaign fund.
If I could say something, I want to piggyback off of what Todd just said about supporting nonprofits. Full disclosure, I support the Wildlife Rehabilitation Center, their mission and their efforts. It's certainly a need in the community. I am also a friend and supporter of Mayor Codwell. And so I'm seeing this from both sides. That being said, my subjective but honest opinion is that nonprofits really are the culture of the community. If you look at the entertainment culture, the activity culture, the resource culture within our community, the support culture, it's heavily nonprofit. Whether it's the Goal Foundation in the Marathon, it's Ogden Downtown Alliance when it comes to the farmers market and other things, the YCC, the Children's Justice Center, the old St. Anne's, which is now something else, the homeless shelter. It goes on and on and on. Even, the Rock and Forth. Nonprofits are really doing the work in the community to create the culture in which makes this community a place people want to live. So yes, please support your nonprofits. They are making the community better, and the Wildlife Rehabilitation Center is another nonprofit in the community that needs support.
Thank you, Amir. Very well said. Yeah, I'd like to get Mike's opinion on what's going on behind the scenes, because there's got to be a reason, right? So I just want to know have a beer with him, like, Mike, dude, what's going on at the Wildlife Center? That'd be a good question to ask. How do you guys fundraise normally?
So, most of our operations are funded just by the people that bring us animals. They'll drop 5, 10, 20. In our peak season, we're taking in 30 to 50 patients a day. So it adds up. We also do yearly fundraisers. We have a spring, we call it our baby shower. Early April or mid-April, we'll have an open house. We do kids crafts, and we get out our education ambassador animals. And we just have people walk through the building, kind of see what we do. We have a little silent auction. We've recently started, before COVID, we started a fall speaker series event, which is kind of a little more fancy to do. We had them at the Timbermine Steakhouse, and we'd get a guest speaker, and they'd come and give a little lecture on what they do and that kind of thing, but haven't been able to do that since COVID.
Well, you guys are clearly loaded now, right? Lots of money.
Oh, yeah. we're just
as,
swimming in it.
as nonprofits typically are.
Oh,
So I
yes.
don't want to assume anything, but while we have you right here, I would like a little clarification. I think that sometimes when it comes down to these things, it is nefarious reasons, right? And sometimes it is lack of communication or misunderstanding, or there's some sort of urgency on one side that doesn't make sense to the other side.
Yes.
Have you had a chance to talk to their sort of points of contact as far as filling them in with additional information? As far as the urgency of this September date seems so soon.
It really is. And technically, that's our lease. The lease that we signed said that they would give us 180 days to vacate, which was whenever they decided. And then we would have those 6 months to be out. But of course, that was the written. And then we were told, oh, don't worry about it. That's not going to happen. Like, give it a few years. You guys will just be basically a permanent fixture. No one will even look twice, which was our mistake for not getting that in writing, but hindsight's 2020. So,
but do you feel that even after the fact that they are now informed about the length of what this would take to transfer out of a space like that? Maybe for some reason they thought 90 days would do it. Well, that's
well, I believe our
reality.
original write-up of the lease was something like 60 or 90 days, and we were like, that is not going to be even enough time to start anything. Like, we need more time. And then they rewrote it to have the 180 days, and they were like, well, that's all, like, that's the longest we can do. So we signed it.
Fair enough. All right, so what can we do?
Yeah.
Other than what's on the list, what can we do for you?
That's a good list, but yeah. How can we help you?
Right.
20 years plus.
Oh,
Nicely done.
That's exceptional.
Yeah.
thank you. Well, I just started young is all. But right now, our two biggest concerns are finding a place to move into as quickly as possible and staying relevant in the public eye. This could take a minute. We are hopeful to be able to reopen to take patients in 2024, which we really, really are pushing for that. But right now, we still don't have even a temporary place. There's a few places that we are looking into, but the red tape is going to take a couple of months. Once we do find a place, then we have to move in as quickly as possible and retrofit it for our needs, which if we did, depending on the length of time that we had, we could do a lot, we could do a little, but there are the minimum standards that we have to do in order to be able to take in specific animals. And unfortunately, we're probably not going to be able to fully reopen. We will probably be limited on what species we can accept because we simply don't have the enclosures to keep a pelican in, a smaller space.
We can keep one, just maybe
Just
one
the one.
pelican in our space. It's
I
not very big.
drove the van actually down from Ogden, the start of the Ogden Marathon, and went up over Trappers, to get back to Ogden, and freaking bald eagle was flying by in Weber Canyon. I looked up, I'm like, there's no way. And I'm watching, I'm like, well, I don't know what else it would be. That thing's got to be a bald eagle.
Yeah, there are, and they're everywhere. I was just up just past Morgan Canyon, and there was a bald eagle nest right off the side of the freeway. 2 bald eagles perched on either side.
Do you guys get eagles into your facility ever?
We do. Oh, yeah. We actually just released a golden eagle that had gotten into a fight with another golden eagle.
As they do.
It's turf wars, yeah.
Turf wars. But he was in pretty rough shape. They crashed into the ground, we assume. The person that originally found him and then called the division to come and pick him up assumed that the one on the ground was dead because he just was not moving. And that the other one must be severely injured because he's not flying away. And then when they went out to go pick him up, the one that was standing took off and left the one on the ground, and he couldn't
Imagine
stand
coming
up.
across that scene.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm wondering, Brandon, did you hear the Star Spangled Banner as you when you saw this bald eagle? Were you feeling patriotic at the moment?
I often do, but also about an hour and a half to 2 hours earlier, I was in charge of pressing the play button of the Star Spangled Banner for the start of the Ogden Marathon. And there's been time, it's beautiful at the start of the Ogden Marathon. If you haven't been to the start, sign up next year, do the full. but it's the sun comes up in the valley there. You're close to Causey, and there's been times when like the birds will fly through where the sun's shining through, and this time we did not have a singer. Usually there's a singer, so I just had it on a Spotify, and I just push play, and the singers, and I introduce it, and the flag is flying, and I'm like, I get the chills because it's just a beautiful moment, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks for asking.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think
I think
that
retelling
sums it
the
up.
story
That's
is the
crazy.
story.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
keeping that in front of our faces is very, very important. And I think also making that comparison, because it's hard to know the intricacies of being sort of displaced and removed from a location, right? And so that to me would be just like, oh, just please let that happen, right?
Right.
But if that does not happen, then it's just this time frame seems like something that just, these animals are so important to us collectively, and especially if there is any chance that this place that saves thousands of animals ends up as parking spaces or sheds or something, like that's going to really hurt.
Yeah.
If it's something where this urgency is just not as necessary as somebody thinks it is, right? And so there's always more to stories. I assume
Right.
that there probably is on that side as well, but at the same time, I'm just like, nope.
Yeah,
I
it
support
really
the
doesn't
animals.
It really doesn't make very much sense to me as far as the reasoning behind it.
You might not know the actual reason.
Yeah, I don't think I do.
They may not know the reason. They might think that it needs to happen like this, and maybe they do have some more extra time.
So have you thought about calling your parents' house, the Ogden Nature Center, and like, can we come back and room with you for a little bit and maybe hang out until we find a place?
Right. So again, the problem is that there's really not room for us there anymore. When we were there, we only did, I believe we were still the largest rehabilitation center in the entire state. We only did 500-600 animals a year.
Oh my God.
So we were a lot smaller back then. We couldn't squeeze in very easily. To a
fair
place
enough.
like
This is
that
what
at the
happens. You
moment.
get too good at what you do.
Yep.
Sure.
Well, when we get settled in, we have a beautiful 10,000 square foot building.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous property, so many old growth trees. We have outdoor enclosures for the animals that are almost ready to go but need some time just to kind of get their wings back under them. Like we're a lot bigger now, so
Yeah, of course.
and our goal is to expand. Our goal is to come back from this and be 20,000 square foot building.
I
that
see
can
good
do-
things. I'm going to be positive. I think
Yeah.
in the end it'll be good. This sounds like a silly question, but I'm honestly curious. Do you have animals that you've saved birds that come back and see you?
We've had a couple of suspicious return patients.
Okay.
Ones that we can't necessarily this is definitely the same bird, but it's like, he looks really familiar.
Yeah. Okay. Just curious. All right. Good stuff. I think you represented really well. And nice shirt, Amir. Nice
Very,
work.
very, very well. You're a great ambassador.
Thank you.
1000%.
Do this as much as you can. You have a really great voice
Oh, thank you.
for this. It's super well spoken. Just you could tell the passion that you have behind it. And so I think that
I think that's
when you
probably the
said
biggest thing.
that, when that was listed, as far as just reminding people, because
Yeah.
our cycle of information is
Yeah.
sometimes very, very short.
Yeah.
I know how aggressive this community got with Jake's Over the Top.
Yes. I
And they sell shakes and burgers,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
This is thousands and thousands of animals every year. And so
Well,
I
and
just
it's
know
not-
what we're capable of.
Right. And it's not even just the animals, but when people find these creatures that are hurt,
Yeah, where you go.
what do you do for them? People innately want to take care of things, and they want them to get the help, and they want them to get better.
Yep. We found owls. I think everybody lives in a mountain town has
You're right.
at some point or another had an encounter with an animal. Anyway.
Yeah, I would second or third, whatever it is at this point. I think that you are even a better ambassador and spokesperson than the executive director would be. Because
Oh no, don't tell her that. Now I'm gonna have
No,
to do
no.
all of the interviews.
because you're removed, right? Like you're a product of this, just as the animals are. You're like a living product. As a young person, you came up through this. What would you call it? System, right? I think that you're a great, and you're easy to listen to. 100%.
Well, thank you.
But
Amir,
you could share the work with her if you need.
yeah, sure.
I think get in front of as many microphones or people or groups as you can.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Amir Jackson, founder, Nurture the Creative Mind. You know a little something about nonprofits and selling your vision to the people who need to hear it. How did you learn that?
I think that for me, the nonprofit world was happenstance. I was passionate about what young people, inspiring young people, helping them develop some self-value based on my own backstory. And I started doing it. I started working with young people for those specific purposes. And then one day someone was like, hey, you need to start a nonprofit. And so I did. And to be honest with you, I'm still learning. I haven't really learned how to do
you
that.
didn't have all the answers?
No, I still don't know. And a lot of, I guess the knowledge that I have is based off of mistakes that I've made.
Oh, amen to that.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I got a quick question for you, kind of follow up to that. Try to take yourself back to before you started the nonprofit. What was your preconceived notions of nonprofits? What were your thoughts about how they ran, what they did better than for-profits, what they could do that for-profits couldn't? What were your thoughts on nonprofits?
I didn't know what a nonprofit was.
Fair.
I had no clue what a nonprofit was. I think that as I began to understand nonprofits, I can say that I thought nonprofits were like the United Way, churches, the Red Cross. I didn't recognize or realize how many organizations and were nonprofits, right? That's because I didn't have a business background. I didn't come from a business background family. I didn't have a business education. So for me, businesses made money. That was the purposes of businesses. And then anything else was just charity. And I didn't necessarily understand the business behind charity.
Well, some businesses don't even make money, but that's another story.
Yeah.
Amir, what is your goal in life?
Yeah, man. That's a great question. My goal is to leave a positive legacy. I hope to live a life that I hope to live a life of meaning and prosperity. I hope to live a life that the message left behind is that you can do good, be a good person, and you can live well. I would like to be able to accomplish those things, that it's not an either or, that you aren't, either you make money or you do good. I would love to accomplish, in order to leave a legacy, I would have to accomplish that for myself. And so I hope that at some point in my life, I am able to accomplish that goal, and that be the legacy that I leave, so that other people want to do good in their community, knowing that they don't have to sacrifice living well to do so.
And so as you've come up with that goal, how it's gotten stronger, I'm sure that's changed through the years. But it feels very strong right now when you're saying it. So what directions have you changed to sort of to satisfy that goal? Like, what have you recently started to do differently? How are you doing the same things? Has it really changed all that much? Is it just a mental thing?
No, I think that, that's a really great question. I'm loving these questions, by the way, because it's forcing me to reflect, and it's also forcing me to be true and honest to some of the self-conversations that I've had over the last few months, maybe year. I would say that it is a mindset, but there are certainly changes that I'm adopting to support that mindset, and some of those changes are just understanding that I have value, and that I myself am not a charity. That I work for a charity, and I'm the director of a charitable organization, but I myself am not a charity.
I need that T-shirt. I am not a charity.
Yeah, and And I think I've lived, I felt that I wasn't being true or authentic if I invited, financial freedom into my life. A friend of mine, a mentor, an elder, she said, Amir, you have romanticized poverty, that you believe that by being poor, that makes you more authentic.
Was that tough to hear? I mean, that's a pretty real statement to you.
Yeah, this was some years ago. It was tough to hear, but to be honest with you, I already knew it. I understood it. So she wasn't telling me anything that I didn't know. She was just giving it to me straight.
Is that a coping mechanism?
What?
Is it settling with where you're at, sort of, like, well, you know what? I don't need all. I'm happy with what I have. Poverty is cool.
I think that if there's a lot to that. I would say that the coping mechanism, possibly. I think that for me, it was I'm a director of a nonprofit organization that is intent on helping people, specifically young people, see their value. And I poured, and still do, poured myself into that. And the reason why is because I needed it myself, right? And by seeing these young people grow and believe in themselves, and not necessarily just be told that they were valuable, but for them to see it be demonstrated, was a way for me to feel fulfilled, right? And for me to find value. What I realized is that in order for me to actually live and be true to the mission completely, that I'm the missing piece. Like, I'm the last person to mentor. I'm the person that I need to now invert my intention to, so that I can become the symbol rather than the young people in our organization being it.
So I've always had respect for elders. I think they're pretty smart people, and I'm sure you do too. But what did the kids have? Like, they were teaching you stuff that you weren't getting from the adults in the room.
Purity. They had purity, and they had their kids give without necessarily expecting anything in return, right? So it's it's a safety. I don't feel used, by them. And so I think that it was just safety and comfort is what they had. Trust is what they had. And to be honest with you, like I mentioned briefly, there was a backstory. Like, working with kids, it's very kind of wild, man. And I think anybody who has children, have actually like children of their own, can kind of understand this. Raising your children in some ways and loving them and caring for them in some ways can be raising, loving, caring for the child in you. You know what I'm saying? So I think that the young people, what they gave me was an opportunity to heal the child within me.
When you hear people say, well, I don't want to have kids, what's your thoughts on that?
I think that if you don't want to have kids, don't have them.
Okay.
That's my thought.
I think it also goes both ways. And I think that all of the good that you're passing on to the kids, you're also passing on all the shit, all the things that you didn't deal with that now they're going to have to deal with at some point or another. That whole inner child thing, I feel very strongly about that and how true that is. These certain things that you don't check off as a child in some sort of healthy way, you most likely didn't get from your parents because they didn't get it from their parents, and they didn't get it from their parents, and it does continue and continue and continue. And so I think you can do both. I think you can inadvertently, give your kids a lot more work to do, let's just say.
You're going to do both. You're going to do both. It's not a you may or it's possible, guaranteed fact. You're going to love them and you're going to give them some shit.
Well, my point is that I appreciate hearing a parent talk about that.
Yeah.
And not just blindly going into it, passing on their shit to their kids. And I think that happens. I think that we're in 2023. I think that hopefully 23, we're having more and more people give these things some thoughts, as far as just sort of blindly passing on some of those traits. Anyway, I appreciate you saying that.
Hey, thank you.
I wanted to pass on.
And kids these days are so smart. I don't know why I think every generation's smarter than the one before it, but they are good kids.
Yeah. I mean, I think that they're great. They're great kids. We had one of our kids, lied to us today. And so, when you say that right now, we're dealing with some other stuff. But yeah,
never goes away, Amir. Okay, so we were talking before the podcast about, you're involved in quite a few things. And so I think I said, if you sit next to someone on the airplane and they ask you what you do for a living, how do you answer? But what I want to know personally is if you consider yourself an artist.
Absolutely.
Okay, why? Of what?
I'm going to say this. This is me owning my value. I think I am the greatest type of artist. I don't have a singular discipline. I approach life in an artistic way.
I mean, you were posting photos of chopping wood, which I respect and I love to do, but it's actually really hard work. And I'm like, he's an artist in all things. You're an artist in the way you stack the wood, for crying out loud. It looked nice.
Thank you, man. I just approach life. I believe, listen, the organization is called Nurture the Creative Mind for a reason. I believe in living your life creatively. And for a lot of reasons, health reasons. But I just believe that society is better because of creativity and creative-minded individuals. I have a quote hanging in our studio that states that if it were not for creativity, we would all still be dragging our knuckles. I believe that. I believe evolution is a creative mindset. And so I just live my life creatively and artistically. And if you were to ask me that question 5 years ago or 6 years ago, I would have told you no, because I didn't see myself as the best poet or the best painter. And because of those very specific definitions, I did not see myself as a creative person or an artist. That being said, I now understand after years of working with other people who don't necessarily define themselves in those very small boxes, but are some of the most creative people I know, that yes, I am an artist and I am a creative person for sure.
Well, it's like you said, Todd, it's 2023, and being a creative is a buzzword now. I make my life as a creative. I think it's been bastardized a little bit. I don't know if you can be a creative in a lot of different ways, I suppose. So,
yeah, absolutely.
It does mean something different, I think, to everybody. My time I spent at Weber working with art students, right? And so that was very focused. But to tell you the honest truth, I think the most satisfying part of being involved with that during those times I was there is everything that went along with focusing on being a creative. And that wasn't learning how to draw or paint or sculpture or any of that stuff. It was learning how to deal with problems and deal with difficult situations and learning how to zig and zag rather than just blindly going in this line because you're just so afraid to really do anything else, or you want so badly to maintain the sameness in a world that is constantly not the same, right? And so we call them sort of soft skills, to some degree at a university. But to me, that, anybody that was going through the art programs, if they had that and if they could vocalize what that meant, then it was truly a useful experience being in school, right? And I think that that's what sets them up for, a career in the arts is great, but literally anything else that you have kind of that comes in front of you. And that's, to me, that's a creative too, And so I think it's a really loose definition, being an artist and creative. And they do throw around creative a lot. There's no question about it. But to me, it still means nothing but good. It just means that, we have another difficult situation that comes around, rather than getting stuck in this blackness of it. You're able to kind of look around that or try something new. Anyway, I think everybody's got their own definitions. I'll bet you have your own definition as well.
Well, I think everybody's creative somehow. Sometimes some people are creative in math, some people are creative in arts, some people are creative in the way they approach life. Some people are a lot of different creatives. Some people know how to express it, some people don't. But I believe that everyone has that creativity in them.
I agree 1,000%. And I think that this, I know that creative is a buzzword, but these kind of conversations are necessary because these kind of conversations that bring a universal thought process to creativity is what is going to help bring value to creativity. When I was in high school, I didn't take art classes, so I didn't consider myself an artist, right? I couldn't draw a portrait, or I couldn't paint anything beautiful, so I didn't consider myself an artist. And I think there was a lot of people who fell into that same that same void, that same hole. And so these people end up becoming politicians. They end up becoming congressmen and others who, because they didn't take an art class, they don't necessarily see value in art, right? And so they take it out of schools. But if we would help them understand that they too are an artist, they too are a creative person, that they express themselves differently, maybe they would find value in creativity. We wouldn't have to actually prove it to them. It would be inherent within them. And so I think that these kind of conversations are very, very necessary for us to broaden the umbrellas so that we can actually bring larger value to what creativity is and being an artist is.
It's incredible how shallow and how short the definition of being an artist is. I mean, my whole life, anyone that has been sort of in that lane, in artist lane most of their life, right? How many times does it come up? I love what you do without knowing what I do. I couldn't draw a picture to save my life. I'm like, well, me neither. I don't do
sure.
But that has been, that's been my 50 years. That's been probably my parents. I mean, who knows how long ago this goes back, but this is a definition that is just, it's so wrong. It's just wrong.
I agree.
It's so... It really does need to be redefined, and it's amazing that it still applies.
When it's used, it's flippant, but really underneath the surface of that comment, it's true. In other words, I like basketball. It's the NBA playoffs right now, and people will say,
"Let's go Lakers! Let's go Lakers!"
Good luck, Amir. They'll say things like, so-and-so is an artist with the ball, but it's in passing, like it's a comment, but then they'll throw that out there, and I'm like, actually, he is an art. You know what I mean? Like that's that person's art, is that he's really good at it.
And can we just, that was a great point, Brandon, and can we just acknowledge that when we say that, we're saying that that person is special. They are unique. They stand out from the crowd. Anytime you use the word, that person's an artist when it comes to cooking. That person is an artist when it comes to landscaping. You're saying that this person is above everybody else. We understand that that word has like actual value. You are different, you're unique, and you are special.
I need to hear you say that like again and again, even as an adult, because it feels good to hear it. No, it genuinely does, because I immediately want to be humbling. It's like there's something about being an artist that also... you sort of innately, I don't know.
Well,
there's a lot of us that are quiet.
Is that our culture or something? What did we do? Where did we go wrong, Amir? Like, what did we do to where are we buying too much into like the poor artist, and we got to be the poor artist?
Yeah, I think that's a problem. I think that if that is how we view and categorize ourselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like. There's this title of poor starving
artist.
Yeah, that's it. Starving artist. Yeah.
Like, which is really wild. That means you are literally conditioning people that if you aren't starving, you're not actually an artist, right? Like, you're not a real artist. Real artists are broke. Real artists do it just for the art, the purpose of art. They don't.
But when Green Day makes the hit, and then they break out the mold, now they sold out.
They sold out. They're not an artist. They're not real anymore.
Not anymore.
But you make such a good point, because even working, at the art department, there is definitely the association, and I don't think for a second that every artist needs to go to an art school, but there is also that association made about an artist where, I'm self-made, I'm self-taught, you're not a real artist because you went to school, that you had those extra opportunities. You're not a real artist for going through those ways, I'm like, well, that's not right either.
Yeah, we do it to ourselves, basically, right? Like we're the gatekeepers. Artists are the gatekeepers to what is an artist or what isn't, and we are also the judge and jury, right? And so that means that, and I think kind of understanding that formula, there's a solution there. We have to start speaking differently about ourselves. We have to stop judging people based on some arbitrary definition that keeps us from embracing people outside of that space. We actually have control of redefining what an artist is, and then bringing value to a larger level.
This is a great conversation because I just keep getting these thoughts. It's funny how I think of it a little bit like a canary in the coal mine type of thing, where to some degree, because this is taking place right in the middle of the Nine Rails Creative District, and so this is a good example to me where there's certain people in the community that wants this canary and they want artists to go into the neighborhoods that I don't want to go into that neighborhood. I don't want to walk around. I don't want to live in this neighborhood, but artists will do it because it's a little more affordable. They're braver than the rest, which I'll be honest, artists are often braver than others. And so there is some value when you need that, when you need artists to move into a neighborhood, that let's call this a creative district. Who do we want in the neighborhood first? We want an artistic crowd. We want to define an area in that sort of capacity. And so there is value there until they get priced out. And that's
for sure.
That's
so, I mean,
definitely
let's be very clear. Developers understand the value of artists.
Oh, absolutely.
They understand.
We have partners with many.
Clear. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's true.
Amir, how did you get to Ogden?
I was in the military. So I was stationed at Hill Air Force Base for 4 years. And then, I just stayed close after I got out, lived in Layton for a little bit. And then I went to Weber State. And, Ogden became home.
Well, we're lucky to have someone like you here because you take chances and you're not afraid to be you and to try new things. And that's there's a lot of people in this town. And so you're one of the few who started a nonprofit and have done other things on top of that. So, why did you feel that was necessary, and why did you stay here in Ogden?
I appreciate you saying that. I will say that I'm not sure that I'd be the person I am today if I had stayed home. If I had stayed back in New York.
Yeah, New York is home.
Yeah, Rochester. It's easy to take chances when no one has expectations of you. You know what I'm saying? Like in Utah, nobody knew who I was.
It's kind of nice sometimes.
Oh, yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Right? I was able to define myself and I could redefine myself, right? And really, it wasn't a big deal. But back home, you have friends, you have family who they know you as a certain person. It would have been difficult. I'm not saying impossible, but it would have been difficult to take chances in New York. It was easy to take chances here. This was fertile ground for chances. So I appreciate the call out on bravery. I guess I can understand how it appears that way, but it really was easy. It was an easy thing to do for me. I just I didn't see it as a difficult road whatsoever. I just saw it as nothing but like a blank slate, and
opportunities.
Yeah, just a blank slate and fertile ground. That's how I looked at it.
You really get to dive into who you are on the inside because you're somewhere where nobody knows you, and you can just be you, which is nice.
For sure. Now, I will say that was, 16, 17 years ago. At this point, if I were to,
we all know you now.
yes. Now, if I were to redefine myself now, there does take a bit of courage to do that. And I will say that I am in a space currently where I'm redefining myself, and I love it. I think that it's going to it's going to be exciting.
But it's going to shake some things up.
100%. And it's going to be upsetting for some people. It's going to be exciting for others. And, I love the fact that I'm in a space that I don't care about either. I'm doing what I want to do. I'm doing what I believe in. And I'm doing something for me. And so like this next like iteration phase is certainly going to take some courage. But I'm very, very excited.
Bro, I'm excited.
Yeah.
Like just that, I'm excited. Now, are you talking about indie?
No, I'm talking about life.
Okay.
I'm just
Professional breakdancing.
It's possible. Yo, I got
talking about b-boxing earlier. So.
Yo, I actually did have a dance group in high school. Though.
Oh,
I did.
Yeah,
100%.
I want those videos.
Yeah. I wish we had the phone camera phones back then.
Yeah.
I did I straight up Mrs. Wells' class, me and my friends.
Shout out to Miss Wells.
Mrs. Wells, she let us practice in her room, and we practiced to it was Jodeci, right?
Oh, we're getting sexy.
Yeah, it was real sexy. I'm telling you right now, it's not something that would be approved today.
Right.
Like sincerely. But the B-boy thing.
Jodeci was the makeout music. Man.
Oh, forget about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, forget about it. It was a rap. You put Jodeci on. You already knew.
Oh, you already knew. Do you want to talk about indie or what you're doing there?
Yeah, I mean, I think that Indie Ogden has been a staple within the community for some time. I don't know exactly how long, 10, 12 years.
Michaela started it. About 2012, somewhere 14, somewhere around there, I think. I mean, she's been involved for a long time.
For sure. And what I love about Indie Ogden, because after Michaela, she started it, she put her personality into it, and then she passed it on to someone else. His name is Dan Matthews. And Dan took it another direction. And so I will say this like straight up, like outrightly, that right now I have it. But I think that there has been you own the brand.
Yes. Okay.
But I think it's important to state that because Michaela had it, she passed it on to someone else, right? She didn't let it just dissolve. Dan had it, and he passed it on to someone else, me. He didn't let it dissolve. And now I have it. There's a pattern and I believe a culture that's been created that Indie Ogden is a part of the community.
Yeah.
Right?
How would you define that culture?
The culture of what I experienced with Michaela and Dan is one of non-ownership. It's we have it for now, but it belongs to the community. So if we're not here, we're going to give it to someone in the community, or if we're not doing it, if you're not doing anything with it, we're going to pass it on. So I have a responsibility. I believe and I feel like I have a responsibility to own that as well. So if I move on from Indie Ogden, I'm going to pass it on to someone else and not give them a roadmap to what I expect them to do, but let them do what they want to do with it. And so what Indie Ogden has been is different than what it was 3 years ago. It's different now than it was ever. And I believe that it's just going to continue to evolve because it will always have someone else at the helm and that person putting their personality and identity onto it.
I find that fascinating, and I think that's awesome. One of the first things you're doing is it the art of being seen?
The art of being seen, yeah. The idea behind the art of being seen is that everybody wants to be seen. We all want to be valued. We all want to be validated. And this series is an opportunity for people to be seen. There's right now we're doing candidates for mayor. I'm actually traveling to New York next week to film my grandmother telling stories of her childhood and experiences that she had. So that's going to be an episode. And then we have an episode coming up in a few weeks. That is it's a really special episode, and I'm giving secret sauce here, and let it be known that if anybody else does this, listen, this was something that started here. Let it be known.
Like here, like with you.
Period.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Okay. This is an episode where there's a mother-daughter, and the daughter is going to be interviewing. I have coached the daughter to interview her mother and ask her mother questions that she always wanted answers to. So you'll be able to, and so in that episode, the mother will be given a chance to be seen by her daughter, and her daughter will be given a chance to be seen by her mother. So this is really the core of the, and so it won't necessarily be the same each episode. Each episode will be different, but all of the episodes will be about the person being interviewed having an opportunity to be seen.
So video, audio, like what are you calling this?
It's going to, I don't necessarily know what to call it. It's going to be on social media. So it'll be on, Instagram, TikTok. Those are the easiest for me currently, with bandwidth. That being said, I do expect at some point we will expand to YouTube channel as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I was supposed to ask you how to make a living as an artist.
Yeah, man. Listen, we went down the path. We went down the path that was organic and authentic. I'll dig it.
Okay. All right. Well, that's all I got. Todd, you good?
I think the answer is that we're still figuring that out to some degree.
We are,
but we are certainly prioritizing that. I am. That's why I love talking to you about these things, because that's a big part of my new job is how to survive. Right now, I'm looking. It's funny because I've got some workshops coming up this next month that I'm going to do through the Salt Lake City Arts Council, and it's about how to survive as an artist, right? And this is where I feel comfortable saying that word survive right now.
I was just going to say survive's a rough word.
I would love to quickly change that survive to thrive, but I think that maybe right now where I'm at, where we're at, I think survive is probably a good word. But it also means that there is a lot that artists need to learn as well. And these are things that maybe we've picked up on, trial and error and bombed at, and writing a business plan. This is, finding funding. This is legal issues and being an artist, right? These are some of the topics that I've chosen. And I think that the list goes on and on and on. It is not easy to be a professional artist, and I think we all know that. I think that's why it's probably the most rewarding and the hardest job. It's got to be one of the hardest jobs. Like it's the persistence of being an artist is like, it's sometimes
it's grueling.
Grueling is a good word for it.
Yeah, but you love it. I love it.
Well, I think with a lot of artists, there's not necessarily anything else you could see yourself doing. I do love the fact that I'm going to quickly go back to what I said before, and that's the ability to zig or zag or to evolve or to roll with these punches and not do the same exact same thing again, right? And so I do know how to counter a no and how to skirt that and change that and go around that. And so the artist that I was is certainly different than the arts administrator I am now. I'm still an artist, but I have found a path where I can advocate for artists, and that's incredibly satisfying. That might even be more satisfying, and I can reach even more artists than just me. And it, of course, it heals my own inner artist child that we are all constantly trying to do as well. And so I think the more you help others, the more you help on yourself. We know that.
100%.
Yeah.
Doing for others is one of the most selfish things you can do.
I just discovered this new Finland comedian, and he's like, how come Americans never answer with like, yes, yes. They just say like things like percentages, like 100%. I'm all, well, that's true. I say it all the time.
Yeah.
100%.
100%.
1,000.
Amir, please allow me to summarize, and you can add, but I feel like the lesson here is for artists and becoming an artist is to please be confident in your value, and that artists are valued at a much higher level than I think the trending culture has portrayed it.
Yeah, 100%. I think that it's an artist, it starts with self-value. This is what I would say. If you are an artist and you are struggling with finding your pathway to financial happiness, start with establishing your own self-value. Start there. Go internally. It's not the external world, right? Because there are people out there that are asking for $50,000 for the thing that you just did for $500, right? So start internally, establish your value and believe it. I think that that's where it starts.
I love it. I love it so much. Todd, anything? Did you have anything in arts news?
No, I'm good right now.
I really want to thank Amir. Thanks for spending your time with us here today.
Absolutely.
Appreciate
It was
it. And Erin with Wildlife Rehabilitation Center of Northern Utah. Good luck, Erin. I hope you have a new home soon.
Yeah,
Or-
me too.
Yeah. Thank you to Band Union One for powering today's episode of the Ogden Arts and Adventure Show. Listen and subscribe to Ogden Arts and Adventure on YouTube. Look for us on Facebook as well, Instagram, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, The Banning Collective, and on Podbean app for Android and iPhones. You can DM us if you want to be on the show, and it works. We've done it before. They just reached out to us, and we just said, come on the show at Ogden Adventure. This week's Outdoor Jukebox. Let's go with a little Grandprix, shall we? These guys are going to be opening.
I was just listening to them before this show.
Were you? Yeah, right on.
Like I'm just her look when she's in front of that microphone is just like, it just melts, and then this voice comes out.
Yeah.
But there's this humility of age as part of it too, and it's just like she was so shy that night in our space and hanging out with us, and that is endearing to me. But then the confidence in front of that microphone, the whole experience, that was a great van session.
I said, "Are you cold?" She goes, "No, I'm just shy."
And they were kind of both portraying the same type of thing.
Yeah.
It
So
was a beautiful night, and this is a great song.
Reset by Grandprix on Van Sessions at the Monarch. We'll catch you on the next Ogden Arts and Adventure Show.
Can you feel me? I want you. But do you look at me? The way I look at you, it's getting harder.
All right. Grandprix on Van Sessions.